Matt Josephs here with another video here on the YouTube WagerTalk channel. And joining me now, two very astute gentlemen from WagerTalk.com, Las Vegas, Chris and Brian Leonard. In this video, we are talking about the Cleveland Browns. They are at the Kansas City Chiefs, Sunday, 3:05 Eastern Time. Right now, Kansas City about a 10-point favorite, over under 56. And we'll start with you, Brian. Your thoughts on this game. Cleveland, with the way they beat Pittsburgh, has some momentum entering this matchup.
Yeah, they definitely do. And it was interesting to me that when Cleveland was up to their 28-0 lead in this game, they started putting out lines on the following week's games. They had Kansas City 7.5. Then Cleveland goes into a prevent defense, and all of a sudden, now the line's up to 10. I think that tells us a little bit there. That tells us that people were starting to see Cleveland at the end, thinking that that was the true Cleveland Browns. And if you watch the Browns this year, there's been a lot of that going on. This has been a team that one minute they look great, next minute they look bad. But a lot of it is once they've taken leads in games, they have basically just let the defense play a little bit back and let everybody get the little short shots and move the ball down the field. That's something that Cleveland's done. So I have this Cleveland team rated a little bit better than a lot of the other people do. One thing I'm looking at here, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs had last week off, and you've got Andy Reid. Anytime Andy Reid has extra time to prepare, that's something to be concerned about, as he's been terrific in that regard. The way I see this game playing out is Cleveland's going to try to run the football, and that's the weakness of this Kansas City defense. So I think Cleveland will be able to stay into this game. Andy Reid, as I said, with the extra time to prepare, is going to make some changes, and Kansas City's been one of those teams lately that has just not been covering the spread. So I think eventually the line will come down a little bit. It's sort of like a teaser protection right now. Usually we talk about 6-point teasers, but now we can talk about a 7-point teaser. If they had it at 9, even if they had it at 9.5, a lot of people could tease the Kansas City Chiefs down to 2.5 too. This keeps them from doing that. So I think this is a false area that the game is at right now at 10. I think the line's going to go down a little bit. As I mentioned, Cleveland's got that power running the game. That's how you beat Kansas City. And Baker Mayfield, he doesn't pass the ball very often, but when he does have a very talented wide receiver core. I am somewhat concerned about the offensive line for Cleveland. They did have a couple of injuries in the last game. We'll have to check up on that. I believe Ward, their best cornerback, should be back this week. And obviously the coaching staff will be back this week. So that's something to keep an eye on as the week goes on. Plus, you have a running back, Hill, who has a little bit of animosity about Kansas City letting him go. He's been very, very free about this, that he's still got a lot of friends over there, but he was a little bit disappointed that Kansas City had cut him after his domestic violence situation. But Cleveland right now is a team that I think has some value. Kansas City is one of those teams that could easily come out. They play their A game. Nobody in the league is going to beat them. But at this current number right now, I think the Browns have a little bit of value.
Chris, he talks about the A game, and we have not seen Kansas City's A game in quite a while. I mean, they feel like they're playing with their food a little bit when they play some of these opponents. How much are you factoring that in, plus the week off?
Well, Brian touched on something I was going to comment on, and that is everybody has the fear of what Kansas City can do. And I pointed out, I think somewhere around week 15 or 16, well, when are we going to stop talking about what they can do and start judging them on what they have done? And the reality is Kansas City has not played as the best NFL team this season. Just about everybody's metrics has them around 5th or 6th. Their defense is their passing defense is pretty good, but their rushing defense is porous, and they only grade out at a very average, like 16, number 17 D for Kansas City. That's not very good for a Super Bowl contender. So that's something to be concerned with. And Cleveland's D is the 19th overrated defense, but as Brian touched on. We had weather games involved. There was another game that a score or their stats. Otherwise, the defensive stats would be even worse. Cleveland 11 somehow was outscored by 11 points. To put that in perspective, Atlanta was 5-11 and had outscored their opponents going into week 17 and barely got outscored for the season. So very strange, very strange. Cleveland can put up the points, but they can give up the points. And overall on defense, I've got the Cleveland pass defense down at 26. So Mahomes should be sliced through. Kansas City gets back two of their offensive linemen, or one of their offensive linemen, and one of their key running backs, hopefully this week, to try to help out their offense. So I'm kind of looking at this game more as a high-scoring affair. I just don't understand how either of the teams stop each other, so to speak. Mayfield's been doing such a great job. It's as a lot of people, ridiculed me. I made fun of Cleveland earlier in the year because they really weren't playing well. They had some glamour stats that they were doing well in, but everything else they weren't. But they're vastly improved. They're much more offensively efficient. It's scary. I had strong debates with about a half a dozen very smart handicappers and a couple of bookmakers 3 weeks ago to figure out what the line was going to be. And what's really strange is you had these people adamant that it had to be under 7. And myself, I thought it should have been where it is now. But that was 3 weeks ago, and Cleveland's played much better. So this line's not going to stay at 10. It's going to come down. It's not going to come down to 7, though. But I don't see a value on the side. I really have this number right there exactly at that 9. And really nothing's going to surprise me. Cleveland's too powerful to leave 10 points open in the back door for me to bet Kansas City. But I'd need a -7 to bet the Kansas City side. I think it's going to go over. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. That's where I'm leaning on this.
You can find Las Vegas Chris and Brian Leonard on WagerTalk.com. And to kind of go along with what both gentlemen are saying, on a prop perspective, Travis Kelce, the Browns are terrible against tight ends. There's some profit to be made, not just one, potentially 2 touchdowns from Travis Kelce, who's had a fantastic season for the Chiefs. Don't forget, $2 Tuesday. You can get your favorite handicapper for $2 on Tuesday on both WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Browns and Chiefs, 3:05 on Sunday. Chiefs, a 10-point favorite. Brian Leonard, Las Vegas Chris. You can find us on WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Thanks for joining us.